Whoa there, lad. Where are you planning to go? I see. Planning to head out from your vault into the wider world to make it a better place. How courageous. That's exactly the attitude vault-tec wants from its patrons. Don't let me stop you. I'm sure you're fully learned on the events of the prior Fallout series. Gasp shock. You mean to say that you have never experienced and or have a sketchy memory of the past Fallout tales? Can't have that of a wannabe savior. Lucky for you, son, I can enlighten you. I'm sure you're well aware of what the world was like post-vote life, but nevertheless, I'll give you a brief refresher. The USA was enjoying a prosperous golden age of technology, with all the everyday conveniences, from helpful handyman robots and household appliances to the well-oiled automobiles, made possible by the wonderful glow of the atom. Yes, indeed. Nuclear energy helped bring the world into the future and help defend against nefarious forces. But what's this? Gasp, shock, horror! Alas, the greatness of a fine country has brought about jealousy, resulting in a nuclear cataclysm. Oh no! Fear not, for those fine folks at vault-tec prepared for this. With their array of diverse and well-constructed vaults that you live in today. Scattered all over this fine country, the inhabitants wait safe and secure for the day that they can venture out and restore our great land. Well, you with me so far, lad? Excellent. Our first tale of grandeur is that of a brave inhabitant of Vault 13, a fine example of a vault-tec hero. A great inspiration for you to look up to, lad. He embarked out into the wasteland to recover a new water chip to replace his vault's faulty one.
Vault-tec is not liable for any malfunctions or actions that occur within the vault because the vaults are the vault's inhabitants and or after the period of warranty expiration.
As a vault dweller adventures out on his quest, he discovers all sorts of things in this not-too-friendly new world. Raiders and bandits and mutants, oh my! Dire still, he uncovered a dastardly plot from the leader of the super mutants. Like mutants, but even more meaner. The plot, you may ask? The super mutant leader, the Master, dum-dum-dum, planned to corrupt and mutate the inhabitants of Vault 13. A gasp! But our Vault Dweller wouldn't stand for that, so he did his duty and enlisted the aid of some companions, and with some information from the Brotherhood of Steel, an organization of power armor-wearing soldiers. Yes, indeed. Not only did our Vault Dweller recover the water trip his vault desperately needed, but he also thwarted the insidious plan of the Master. Once that was over, he returned to Vault 13 and delivered the water chip. Indeed, a job well done. Once this was over, his overseer decided he'd be better suited out there in the wasteland, continuing to do good deeds and righting wrongs. And thus, our Vault Dweller ventures once again back out into the wasteland, to eventually form the community of Arroyo. And it is here, in Arroyo, where the second installment of our tale begins, with a descendant of the Vault Dweller continuing his legacy. Known as the Chosen One, tasked with completing the next step in vault-tec's vision of the future. And that is to find and use Gek, also known as the Garden of Eden Creation Kit. With it, restore a part of the wasteland to the green, beautiful land it once was. More specifically, village of Arroyo. It happens to be in a bad way, you see. The Chosen One embarks out and retrieves the Gek from Vault 13. But a gasp, the inhabitants are nowhere to be seen. And dire still, upon returning to his village, he finds it abandoned. What could this mean? Well, it would seem that some remnants of the old world's government has come up with a dastardly plan all of their own. These enclave plan to cleanse the world of all mutated individuals, no matter how minor. They intend to do this with a deadly virus, one that only targets mutated individuals, and using the inhabitants of Vault 13 and Arroyo as their guinea pigs. Tut-tut, Enclave, did no one teach you that genocide is wrong? Well, you know our strapping young hero wouldn't stand for that. With some planning and hard work, he destroys their offshore oil rig of a base. and liberates his fine people of Arroyo and the Vault 13, and together, using the Gek, to start a new settlement, with the Chosen One as their new elder. Pretty heroic, don't you think, lad? Ha ha! Well, there's one last tale for me to imbue upon you. That is the story of the Lone Wanderer from Vault 101. The child of a scientist, he grew up in the vault till his father James set out on his own adventure to better the wasteland. Now, Vault 101's overseer disagreed with this particular decision and demanded retribution from the child. Well, a lone wanderer was understandably upset about this and left in pursuit of his father. Venturing out, he looks for clues, righting wrongs along the way. Well now, it turns out the lone wanderer's father wasn't even originally from the vault, but a surface scientist who came to the vault simply to raise his child. Sniff, how touching! It would seem that the reason James chose to leave the vault was to finish his work on Project Purity. An ambitious task indeed. With the use of a Gek, he planned to make clean drinking water for all of the wasteland. A few good deeds and a daring rescue later from an AI-controlled vault gone awry. The Lone Wanderer's father begins work on Project Purity at the Jefferson's Memorial. But what's this? Shock! Horror! The Enclave have invaded! It would seem they're up to their no-good plans again. In a brave sacrifice, James floods the control room of Project Purity with radiation, holding the Enclave in their tracks. Not a minute to spare, the Lone Wanderer ventures out to retrieve a Gek, fighting through a super mutant base. And with a little help from some new companions, he pulls it off. But alas, after retrieving the Gek, our hero finds himself ambushed by the Enclave, who then capture and bring him to their headquarters. Still not having learnt their lesson about genocide, their leader, John Henry Eden, plans to use Project Purity to kill all mutants by pumping their virus into the water supply. What rapscallions! Not too happy about this, our hero begins a daring escape, which results in the Enclave's base's destruction. With this information and the Gek in hand, our hero, the Lone Wanderer, bands together his allies, along with the Brotherhood of Steel, to retake the Jefferson Memorial. Finally, after a long, bloody battle, our lone warrior uses Project Purity to better the wasteland. Well, lad, I think you're sufficiently well informed to embark on your own adventure, righting wrongs and making the wasteland a better place. Well, off you go. I see much promise in your future.